Well, welcome to Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. It is another edition of the full 80 minutes with myself, Mick, the GameCaller Gledhill. We're joined by Craig, the postman, Show Me the Money Harrison. We've got JoeMe the Money. And look at this, we've got a live special guest here in North Yorkshire. We have got Stozza, Matthew Hulkar Storton. He's on the show, and it's good to have you back. Yeah. I think is this appearance number 2 or 3? Second appearance.
A couple of years ago.
So yeah, Matty Storton's on the show. So yes, we're going to focus a little bit about the wonderful world of rugby league. Look, Championship Round 2 happened. There's going to be a separate Championship review show, so please watch that, and there'll be a separate Super League review show once the Super League starts, which of course it starts on Thursday. First of all, though, we've got a special guest here. Full house, Hulkar Wigan. On Saturday, Channel 4 cameras, Matty. Super League's back obviously on Thursday with Warrington and Leeds. You've got probably the marquee fixture out of the opening weekend, in the sense that it's on Channel 4. It will attract the most viewers. No disrespect to Warrington Leeds or Lee versus Salford on the Friday, but the number of eyeballs will be on your fixture. 1 o'clock kickoff Saturday afternoon on Channel 4. Tell us a little bit about Hulkar's pre-season and this game in question, and what's the mood like?
Yeah, it's a big game, isn't it? All the boys are ready to go. I think they've had a tough pre-season. Obviously, new coach Willie coming in. He's got it all really good shape, to be fair. But yeah, first game we played Fev, didn't we? Didn't really go to plan. I think a couple of us were worried after that game what was going on, but we put the record straight against Leeds and played really well against them, and I think we're ready to go. And obviously, don't get tougher than Wigan first game, and obviously it's going to be a big game. I think, like you say, I think it's going to be a sellout. So yeah, I think we're all really excited for Saturday. Is it 1 o'clock kickoff? I think, yeah. So
yeah, 1 o'clock.
I think all the boys are ready to go. Yeah.
When you look at obviously Hulkar last season, I'll be honest, we've said it a few times on our end of season review show. We genuinely felt Hulkar Rovers underachieved last year. Obviously, Tony's gone now. Willie's come in. What's changed then? You know, because obviously when a coach leaves and a new coach comes in, what's Willie brought to Hulkar Rovers that perhaps weren't there under Tony?
I think Willie's brought he's more structure. I think he's really big on recovery and mindfulness. I think it's been beneficial for me. I think recovering so you can go again. But yeah, we underachieved last year. Obviously, we had a good year the year before. Obviously didn't go to plan with injuries, and obviously Tony leaving halfway through that really didn't help the cause. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this pre-season under Willie, and hopefully we'll achieve something this year. Hopefully.
Well, Craig's actually got Hulkar Rovers to finish 4th in the top 4, so there's no pressure on Matty. But no, Craig, you're standing by your convictions, aren't you?
Oh no, I'm kidding.
Going back in it already.
I saw the eye roll.
Paul give me a bit of a lecture on it. Now I am. It's interesting what Stozza's just said, to be honest. Because Stozza just said, so when you ask people about pre-season, if they lose, they say it don't matter. If they win, they get a confidence out of it. Stozza's just been honest there and said, yeah, Featherstone didn't go well, but really happy what happened at Leeds. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
it's a load of shit. You know, it's a complete load of the narrative of the coaches to say it doesn't mean anything. It means loads. I'll tell you now, that Leeds, I were there, Stoss. Yeah. That Leeds victory would have just, because I know what happened after the Featherstone, and Willie might have gone, I hadn't seen a lot of these playing. Oh, God, they've just come undone very quickly. Then they roll on, and then he's seen a bit more. I know with 2 or 3 players, Willie then said, wow, you can see what they're on about now. They can see why maybe Danny or one of the lads said, listen, wait till you see him in this. I think that happens. I think it were absolutely had to happen before this game on Thursday. I think if Leeds had put 20 or 30 on Hulkar, you'd have been picking pieces up of confidence already. I said this before. Premier League football now, coaches average. What's the Southampton coach? Is it the Leeds coach? 3 months, 4 months? Don't be surprised if that doesn't start happening in Super League. The franchise might help it, then they get a 3-year cap off. But I tell you now, this year will be a funny year for a lot of coaches, because I think that is going to happen in our game now. I think people are going to go. You'll think about it now. How many? If Willie comes into this job, and his first 4 or 5, that your fixture's quite tough.
Yeah, first couple,
you're straight in, and then people say, oh, what's it like to play somebody who might be in bottom three? Well, if you get beat twice and then you play Wakey, or I'm sorry if I'm saying Wakey, but if you say somebody in the bottom three and they beat you, well, it could be on playing back. It's, you know, I'm not. I know it sounds. People say it's ridiculous, and I'm not saying it. So I didn't think pre-season is what I have noticed about Willie. It's all kick chase. It's all about efforts. Yeah, it's a complete narrative difference. It's like saying this is what he wants players, Willie, who have got that. What Stoz is on about there, changing that reload, fitter. It's complete. Tony liked to express himself by the football they played. His narrative.
It's all effort areas now. He's massive on like. It's he's always not getting that cycle. He loves to cycle. I think
he wants the arm wrestle, doesn't he? He wants to stay in the arm wrestle.
Yeah. He's good. Like I think we've really invested in his pre-season. We've gone. That's how we play.
Do you know one thing though, Stoz, that I'd love to test you on, and I'd love a right honest answer, which I'm sure we'll get off you. But I watched at times against Leeds, right? Do you know when you used to when you didn't want to get in an arm wrestle for the last 2 years? Yeah. You just started throwing ball about. Yeah. So you'd go through 9 phases and ball would be flying everywhere because you didn't want to do the grind. Yeah. It was because you didn't want to go set for set. I saw a bit at Leeds where you just went back to type. You just started throwing it out your eye, and I'm like, they've done it again. Yeah. How do you get rid of that when it's been your DNA for 3 years?
It's hard, really, isn't it? Like you say, we've got players who play like that, like Matt and Jez who run back and stuff. But I think Willie just keeps relaying that message, getting back into the cycle straight away. So, but like you say, it's really hard. Obviously, it came under Tony that. But
would you talk to each other? So let's say suddenly you're going set for set, and all of a sudden you panic. So one of halfbacks just does off the cuff, and suddenly ball's being synced at left edge, right edge, and it's like, who's the person at your team who goes, whoa, what we're doing?
Yeah, it's mainly Skids really.
Skids? Kenny Dow?
Sure, Kenny Dow, yeah. He's a massive leader in the team, and I think now obviously what Willie enforces obviously comes from the captain as well. So he wants to get back to the game plan, get back into the grind. He's always next job as well. If you drop the ball, Willie's really big on the next job. You do the next job better and get the ball back. He's really big on that.
Because if you look at that, what we're on about there, me and Joe went to the grand final. We've said when St Helens got to the grand final that year where they beat Catalans, not last year before. And Dodsey were on about staying in grind for 74 minutes, literally. And I said, when do you press the panic button? He went, we were about a minute away from pressing, which means then just throw. Whereas I think your panic button, historically, could be every 6 minutes, everything. Do you know what I mean?
It used to be, yeah.
Do you feel it though, Stoz? I'm trying to get a bit of thing off you there. Do you know when you were doing that with Tony?
Yeah.
And we as fans say it's brilliant to watch expressive rugby. But inside your heart, are you thinking, we're only doing that because we don't want to do set for set?
Yeah, it's a bit, also, in the past it might have been an easy get out, I think. But also, we're all fitter now, and also we're buying into how Willie plays. We have to stay in the grind now. If you do silly passes, you probably won't get picked, I don't think. So, we're all invested in that cycle. I think most teams are going that way now, set for set. Who's gonna break first? Hopefully this year will work for us.
Because I can remember me raving about it. I don't know KR beating, and I ran the other coach up who was going to play against you. I'll not mention him, it's not fair. No. And he said, he goes, you can't. It's hard to defend it because they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So we can't prepare for people doing 9 passes in a set on a third coming out of yardage. We don't know, But what he said, he said that. He said, they just don't want to get, and he was frustrated that you didn't want to get into that toe for toe. Yeah, he thought you were mentally weak. He said they're mentally weak because they don't want to do it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I've never thought of it like that. And then I realised, I thought, actually, there might be a bit in there where you think, oh, was that the DNA of Tony from word go?
I think also Tony throwing the ball around, sometimes just play for cuff a lot of times. You're going to get a game, though, really. Also do a game plan, but just throw the ball around, run off, back up, quick player balls, and kick the ball, whatever. If it goes over, get my kick it over the top, see what happens, you know what I mean? But, Willie's if you throw a bad, you don't want silly passes or offloads. It has to be a clean offload. You can't just throw out your ass anymore because he wants that grind, that set for set, box kicking corner. But I think it's really working for us now at the moment, and I think
Is that just with fitness? Is that just
I think it's
fitness?
fit. We've just drilled kick chase, doing that constant pre-season in the grind, and I think just drilling it all into us, and I think it's hopefully put us in good stead for the season. So,
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you asked my question actually. Yeah, you dived in, but I was just going to say, what I was going to ask, like, what has Willie done in particular that's really implemented that toughness? Because how has that transition been? Because it's obviously, as I was discussing, quite a big transition. It's a complete 180 really on what it was before. How much does that take to really implement? How long has it took in pre-season? You guys started really early.
Yeah, early. Yeah, I think also first couple of weeks just getting systems and all that, but eventually just brought in slowly. It's also been a big change for us all because, like I said, we used to just throwing the ball about, but as a team, we really invest into it, and I think enjoy the cycle. I think that's a big thing. He's into just enjoy the tough work. Yeah. In the middle, you've done 20 minutes, go balls out. Just enjoy it.
Do you know what it reminds me of? I don't know. I'm probably me and Mick are wrong people because I'm only kidding. Me and Mick are fitness fanatics, but I always think of the grind. If you try to explain to people, if you walk in a gym, historically there's two things you avoid: the runner and the rower. Yeah. So if you ever see it, the proper fit lads will head for there because they want to get this in that. I for 15, 20 years going to gym never meant, I just look and go, not for me that. Yeah. I wouldn't be sprinting. And I can remember somebody saying to me once, might have been a player, went to do a session and he's like, I love rowing. I went, I ain't seen doing rower. Them days have gone. Maybe younger, we'd have had a go, but you get me? That's what they call the grind. It's doing the tough stuff, which you know is going to be mentally tough on you, isn't it? Yeah. There's no worse than going on a runner and putting 25 minutes in and going on your own.
That first 5-10 minutes is the hardest thing. Just getting through it. You get through the grind.
And the rowing, isn't it? You wouldn't sit in a rower. I always think, what you're not thinking about. You're just thinking this is the worst thing.
It's hard, isn't it? But like say, get your reward.
It's doing the same thing, isn't it?
To get your rewards at the end of it. I think that's the big thing. Yeah. Like you said, you stay in the grind long enough, they'll break, and you get your rewards off back of it. I think that's a big thing.
Do you know what? Weirdly, that I was lucky enough to share some time with Ellery when we owned club, and God, Gailey used to pull that face and Bigsy. Imagine two young lads from Leeds, and Ellery used to say about the grind, completion, enjoy the process was one. In other words,
that's a big one as well. Yeah.
And he used all these cliches, and you imagine these two lads who were just like Gailey. The face is just and then I can remember him famously saying to Luke, what do you dream of when you think about rugby? And Luke said, that cut-out pass, right to left, and in Conor McGregor. Yeah. He said, look, I used to dream about tackling.
Yeah. Totally different, man.
And all room were like, and he was serious. Yeah. I'm talking about the best player in the world who had a running game that's never been seen. But he said, I just enjoyed being in with my mates, making them tackles when you've got no left, and you're all just diving in. He said, that for me were rugby. And I thought, God, I bet that's why they won 11 championships and if you're enjoying, how many players enjoy tackling and saying, well, you know it, don't you? I always think you see it. I'm not going to say in you starts because you've had to learn which Mick can ask you in a minute, how the hell you've gone from back row, which I thought you one of the best linemen back rowers I've ever, as a young man, and then you've gone into prop, which is
it's a totally different ballgame, middle from back row.
Yeah. So but it's bizarre because I really look at it and think if you think about the modern game, even them days, Gailey's phoned me this morning, talked about the championship, and I said, how was that game yesterday? And he said, that pitch at Witness is brutal on your body.
It is.
He said, honestly, we haven't been...
It's a 3G pitch.
It's really, really springy, and you don't notice it. I mean, this for the viewers.
Have you played on it, mate?
I've not played on it, but I've walked across it to go to the gantry, and...
Genius.
But let me just tell you, I actually walked to the centre circle, and I was shocked that you could do this. You can actually, if you get both hands and really grab hard, you can actually lift it up. You can actually lift it. It does rise a fair few inch. Jeez. So it's really, really springy. And I don't know what they are. They're little like black rubber.
Yeah.
There's a bloke in half time And I'm like, watching him. And afterwards, I'm like, what were you doing at half time, mate? And he's like, well, all these little black bits come off the pitch, so they put the little black bits on the pitch to give it that bounce. It's crazy.
But
it's
he was
madness.
saying,
but yeah, you're right. It's brutal on the legs, the knees,
all the joints.
The joints, yeah.
But on the pitch, he's on about the speed. Sorry, he's saying on the pitch, the speed. He goes, Craig, even with Championship, he said, it's so fast, the game now. And you've got to be at that fitness levels to have any chance at all. And I was thinking, I said, you've gone and played a John Keir team, and all that. But I think he thought the drop might not be as brutal on the... And he's like, no, it is. I mean, Featherstone last week, if you watched him, it was like, I reckon that Gailey did more defending in that game. And I was thinking, he must be thinking, what have I done here? Because he's... At times, he's going to come on next week, actually, but I was laughing, thinking at times, I think he's gone and said, we're going to play this, and all of a sudden he's got lead runners coming at him every 15 seconds. And do you... Well, let me ask you about, because I'd love to know about how you've gone from your back row stalls then to how brutal a change in position is.
Yeah, it's totally different. Like it's like repeat efforts, isn't it? Like it's kind of, obviously people know in the middle it's all like just up and down. Like obviously back row, sometimes you can make 50 tackles or make 10 tackles, and again depends which area the attack. But it was a hard transition at first, but. Doing all right at the moment now. I prefer it now. You get more involved. Yeah. I think it suits my game more. I think. And
I'm kind of guessing. I'm going back to when you first come on the scene in 2018 at Bradford, when John was playing you in that back row position over on that. I think you were on the left edge. Yeah. You do probably as a back rower have a bit more creativity, don't you? Whereas forward, it's literally like I was at Huddersfield Dewsbury yesterday, and I'll just use Ollie Wilson as an example. Yeah. All Oliver did, bless him, was literally Theo Farge would because Huddersfield were literally putting Dewsbury to the sword. I mean, it was 18-0 before Dewsbury even had a set of 6. So Will Price were missing the conversion, so it was this literally try, kick off. But for that first 15 minutes, all Oliver Wilson did was literally stand there, wait for Theo Farge to catch the ball. Here you go, Ollie, and it was making. I mean, I know it's Dewsbury, but Dewsbury, we'll give them a bit of respect. They are one of the contenders for League One, so it wasn't just any old team Huddersfield were facing. They were facing probably the favourites to win promotion to the Championship. But Ollie Wilson were making 20-25 metres, and it's literally like you say, Matty, you're literally rolling your sleeves up. You know what you've got to do. You're like a pig in shit, effectively. Yeah. Your job is to get that ball, and you know there's going to be 4 of their big units coming, wanting to take your head off, wanting to knock you down, and you've just got to relish that collision, that impact, and get back up and get on with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of things as well. It's things what people don't see, like your kick chases, your kick pressures, your reload speed, and that. I think a lot of time that's what coaches look for. Like obviously this year, really wants us the middle just to work hard off the ball a lot of times. It's not really bother if you carry too much. Obviously, it wants you to carry, but it wants you to do a lot of things really well. And also, I've been focusing my game on that a lot this year. But you have to roll your sleeves and do the tough stuff. Really, a lot of times you have to run hard lines, so it's obviously creates space for the halfbacks. I think that's good.
How much does Willie implement the? I guess the new school of rugby, which is like Cronulla, Penrith, and I think like Leeds are trying to do. Certain coaches who have come from us are trying to play expansive and make the props play as well.
Yeah.
I
think it also our 13 role's got a big role this year. Obviously, it's Elliot Minchella and Dean Adley. They're really good ball playing, and they're really good to play with because like a lot of time like halfbacks in.
They're now second receiver, aren't they, instead of the first receiver?
Yeah, so they're really good to play with. Obviously, the director around the pitch. But yeah, sometimes you have to step it yourself and do it. But yeah, obviously as a middle, you do have to play with it these days. It's not just carting the ball in. It's sometimes good to play. So yeah,
you Stods, looking at you when I first saw you, like I said, you're a back rower. I probably wanted more work rate off you. I can remember just talking, thinking, but you hit a couple of lines off Truey, and then when we clipped you up, I was like, oh my God. And I was laughing because I was telling a lot of people about you. But one thing we all noticed, and Mick I think Mick did say, you'd have to contact meters was something that was great off the scale. Like you're hitting contact and then you're making 6-5 meters after contact. obviously what people did then say, right, take his legs away.
Yeah.
I can remember, I'm not going to mention the team, but there was a team where you got done, didn't you, from behind, and they were a shocking tackle.
Yes, we're going
But I remember that happening, and I was thinking, well, people now are coaching and saying, right, take his legs away because this kid's got a post meter.
Yeah.
I probably said to you, you'd probably have to run harder to get, so you're not relying on that all the time. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to come at the ball at more speed. So, but have you noticed when you're playing against teams? Have you gone, oh God, the 3 or 4 men on me here, and my legs are getting took straight away?
Yeah, obviously, different teams defend differently. Like obviously Leeds. I think we played Leeds last week. They're quite passive in defence, so you can get good meters out of contact. But obviously Wigan, they chop for inside really well, so you can change your carry up like bop and like hit and drop, get a quick play of the balls.
Well, explain that slower to the young props listening to you there. Go on, explain that what you mean.
Yeah, it's like obviously this pre-season I worked very hard with me, but like bumpers, getting your bumpers up.
What's
like,
that?
Creating space so you can hit the floor quick. I've never carried like that before, and the coaches have been really into me this year about doing that. But it's a very good way to create space, get a quick play of the balls. Yeah. Also, it's really good for us. Also, got Jez and Matt running off back of us. So
if line speed's come up, Stoz, speak to people who are listening. If the line speed comes at you quick, what you say? So you're saying that's a great point, you know. If the defence stay there, they don't come up. Stoz is saying he'll just do his normal carry and push them back because you know they're not coming at you like that from inside. You're saying if they do that, you have a different carry.
Yeah, it's different. You have to vary your carries up. Like obviously you play a certain player. You obviously scout report before games. People if do late footwork in them, like it's like let's say change your carry up. Some players are a bit like obviously put footwork and you can get your nose through, quick play the balls. Or sometimes you have to carry the ball hard, put the ball at your jumper and fucking carry it.
Craig's already dropped a few F-bombs.
Yeah. Just carry hard, but big thing for me this year. I've also been watching Jesse Sue's come over. He's really good with his bumpers. I've been watching him really close how he does it and creates space. So it's a big thing I'm trying to get into my game at the moment.
When it really interesting. Just for the benefit of the viewers, Matty, because obviously sports science seems to be evolving all the time. Yeah. How much information do you actually get as a player? Because I remember your days at Bradford and John Keir on the whiteboard at Tong. There'd be all the information there, the in-game stats. You'd get a sheet and it'd have everything from me. You know, literally, there'd be about 30 different attributes of what you've done, missed tackles, contact after meters. How's that evolved? Is that still the baseline, or at OKR you're getting fed more information?
Yeah, you get a lot of information. Like also even at training, you get like your clips sent, like what you've done well, what you need to improve on. Obviously before every game, you get like stat sheets about other players. So I think that's a really good way to know how to beat your opponent a lot of times. So, yeah.
If you're going to pick an area where OKR need to improve, where do you think it is? And I'm putting you on the spot here, but if you reckon there's an area where you think OKR need to improve, where do you think they need to improve?
Oh, it's hard to say really, isn't it? Because he's played for a minute. But
I did say it was a tough question.
Yeah, it's also
I think he's answered it. I think his first bit of his answer.
I was just like
the grind.
I'm literally going to say that. The grind, I think obviously Craig said the past couple of years we've shied away from the grind. What's that where obviously coaches totally liked off the cuff stuff, and don't get me wrong, it worked for us a lot of time, but I think to really get there, be with the top teams, we need to get in that grind, and I think we're really doing that more. It's good.
Do you know what? Surprisingly, when you had that run 2 years ago, and then your goal line D's unbelievable. Like you all scramble for each other, which I thought it was just that middle bit. I used to think. Yeah. That middle bit in middle of the game, you're like, right, well, they've just missed a tackle in middle there, or they've just missed this, or they've shifted too much, they've expressed this end, and then you've got to do another set of 6 and another set of 6, and you think, how many times can they make a mistake or knock on? And I always felt that with KR. Good job you mentioned Kenny Dowell there. It's like, I was always looking for who gives you all a rollicking and goes, I could just imagine JP going, keep the ball, and you'd be like,
I think Holly as well.
Ryan,
he's Ryan. Obviously, he doesn't talk much before games, right? Yeah. But on the pitch, he leads by example. if you need to like keep the ball, like he'll scream. He's really good with that, right?
Brilliant.
He knows when to like talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
you need that, don't you? You know, in life, I think you need that. You need somebody who's going to say, lads, what we're doing here. And I used to watch KR and think, oh, who would do that there? Like, Danny, Danny could blow up for England, couldn't he?
Yeah.
You got to play with Danny?
I know. I think he retired the year before.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've heard
he loves a blow-up pitch. I don't see that.
No, but it's true. I could see Danny absolutely giving you that look of death. What them halfbacks do if you dare. You know, but I thought we all care. There's no one. I think because the people who are expressing themselves and playing that type, well, probably without being thinking, maybe the top players. So I wonder if the under players daren't say it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you've got a player who people, let's say Matty Parcells suddenly goes on a run, comes back down, goes left, right, does 4 twirls.
Yeah.
Matty's in that standing in that team. Who's going to blow Matty's legs off? Yeah. And now you've gone for Kenny Dowell, who's got the biggest CV. You know, he's probably got the biggest CV to say, I can tell Matty off.
Yeah.
Danny Maguire could. I can remember saying to Danny about it. What happens if Paul don't come and he goes his sen or Jez goes his sen? He said, he wouldn't do it with me. Yeah. They just wouldn't do it. And he looked at me that way, and I went, right, I've got you.
I think we said, what's I say about the offload thing? I think like you just don't do it anymore. Like you don't do it. Obviously, it'll spray you in review, or you know what I mean. So it's
and it's an hard skill, isn't it? Because if you're a young man, it's really hard to get that. I think it's really hard to get that in between because you want them to express themselves. We want to see forwards playing that expressive rugby, don't we? Well, like Joe said at the start of the show. I think from the day of you hitting contact and bang and putting balls out, I noticed, I need to watch Rugby Union at weekend.
Yeah,
so Finn Russell, twice waiting to contact the hands, like box office. Yeah. Like, reminds me of Rugby League 15 years ago, when you used to see that regularly. You'd see someone get contact and they'd wrist pass, you'd be like, wow. Yeah. You know, we've seen it all over. This Finn Russell, and I asked Callum McClelland after, I said, well, how dare he do that even to 100,000? He goes, Craig, he don't give a... He said, literally, he'll do as little as he can in training. Yeah. He said he'll be working on dribbles and... Yeah. But he said he genuinely goes to rugby and has a way of playing that he'll go and practice offloads or chip overs or volleys, you know what I mean? Anything that's not normal grind, you get me? Yeah. So it's a fine line into your coach saying, I think Tony famously said to one of the players at Leeds, Tony Smith said, I don't mind your offloading as long as it comes off. And I was like, I don't know if I'd dare offload if somebody said that. That'd be a fine line into, you know what I mean? Whereas you've obviously JK, there's not many offloads at JK's system, were they? Mick?
No, and again, I've not seen much of Widnes this year to see if he's gone back to basics with Widnes. I mean, obviously the Bradford style of play, it was very structured.
Percentage based. John were really big on percentages a lot of time.
And that's no disrespect to John, because as we know what happened in the game against Leeds in the Challenge Cup in 2019, and you know, some of the great games.
I often wonder, is that the players' stuff, do you think? Like, so John had Solomona when he was at Wake and he had an unbelievable offload in him. Is it, you know, if you look round, like, so if I said to you now, who's the most highly skilled players at KR? In training, who you got?
Mostly Mikey. I think Jez is skillful, really.
Jez and Mikey.
Yeah. I think Minnie, he's very skillful with ball. Rowan can pull a pass out of nowhere. He can just flick pass. Like, there's a lot of skillful players. Yeah.
And do they practice that?
I don't see it training. No, I think a lot of it's just natural. I think like you just got the confidence to do it. Like, I think it's natural a lot of times. And
it's got to be confidence, hasn't it? If you can then take that into the pitch and dare deliver, you know, that on the bit like that Finn Russell did. I thought, God, you've got 1,000 there. It's millions all over the world, and he's trying stuff that you're thinking, how dare you try it? But maybe that's where the special players are. Do you think the crowd? Do you think the crowd like to see that? OKR. I've noticed your crowd. We went to Saints. I don't know if Joe went. We went to Saints Warrington, me and Shane. The Saints crowd appreciated grind and line speed and process. But I always think OKR fans are a bit like Leeds. They do like a bit of...
Yeah, because obviously they've come accustomed to it, haven't they? Like the flash and do anything off a play, you know what I mean? So, but obviously it's going to be different now, isn't it? So, bit of a shock to him getting grind instead of throwing ball about.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think to really compete, I think that's the way forward for us as a club.
I think it helps, doesn't it? Don't you think when your crowd appreciate what you're going to do? I know with Saints they were building up. Do you know what? We couldn't believe what they did. The fans were getting louder when they stopped them. Like they went for a grubber, it stopped. Then they put the
squeeze on.
Yeah. But they did it with the crowd. The crowd were going, and it was like, and as soon as they knocked on the other side, the crowd went berserk, and I went, wow, they're appreciating what they're doing. They're not appreciating, like, they're not looking at a 30-yard left to right. They're saying, no, we know if we can get a knock on here, we'll win this game. And they were really appreciative. When I've sat at Leeds for years, I can't remember any of that.
No, never at Leeds.
Weirdly, I can't. I'm not being funny. You never really
offload Adam Cuthbertson for that year, offloading out of any angle possible.
Oh, you're good that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? I remember you used to seeing Rob and Danny in the pond making 50-yard breaks.
Like
Maybe
it probably comes from it definitely comes from the culture of the team and the way the team like to play. Your fans are going to follow what your team likes to do and what your team does best. So if you see your team doing something that they do best and they're on it, they know when they see them good things, like I said, in probably Leeds and Ulkiar's position, where they break through a line and proper are off the cuff playing and they look like they're on it, they will be like, yeah, we're on it, let's go, we can win this. Yeah. Where if you're a Saints fan, you know if you see them on it making these tackles 10 metres away from the opposition line and proper going for it, you know that's going to lead to success for the team.
Yeah, would you ever, in your pond, Mick, at Bradford, the highlight of, I'm on about what were it called, the fearsome foursome?
The awesome foursome.
What Joe's saying there, were it the big hits? Were it Robbie Paul beating 5 at Henry?
To be honest, you've got to the famous Paul Anderson fend off on, was it Gary Connolly, where he just literally went bang out of the way like John Alomu and rolled over the line for a try. It was that. It was all about the big hits, the big collisions. Anytime Sean Taylor P or Liz Vanicolo got the ball to Vita Vicona and they were just herring away down that touchline, that's what brings that excitement and that's what really gets you going as a supporter. Really exciting, special times.
Yeah, every team has their own identity, don't they? I think every team has their own little one. You can think about Wigan, they've got their own one, probably more on the defensive side. Like you said, Cass is probably a bit more...
Well, you're wrong about Wigan there, because they actually were the most expansive team last year.
No, traditionally, you picked one year, Dad. Traditionally...
Last two.
Last year before that, they were known for tough defence. I'm right there, pal. But yeah, so Wigan over the years are known for tough defence.
We're not having another dad and lad argument.
Fight scrapping in a minute.
It does it to me every time. But Wigan are known for defence. Apart from last year, I'll chuck that on for you. Wigan are known for that. Cass are known for probably more expansive rugby, aren't they? And getting to the point, and if you know that they're at that point on that 10-metre line on the opposition, and they do that play, you know it's going to lead to success. Yeah. So I think it's whatever your club's identity is, the fans are going to get excited about seeing what they do best.
Well, last Thursday gone, it was the Super League launch. So we were in Manchester, really insightful, good to meet everybody. Had a good chat with Mr. Peters, good chat with Rowan, good chat with Mr. Watson at Huddersfield, Mark Applegarth at Wakefield. He answered some good questions about... I felt a bit sorry for Mark Applegarth at Wakefield because he sat there and all the questions are from all the other journalists. You're the bookies' favourites to go down. he must have answered that question about 20 times. But no, it was a really good, worthwhile event. We got to see the brand new adverts for the new season. Scammond and Steps features, Matty. I don't know if you've
done that before once. Yeah, we'll do it again.
So it's interesting, you can see IMG slowly having a little bit of an influence on things. I did actually ask about the broadcast deals. There's nothing yet signed for next year, but they're in negotiations. They are hopeful, potentially. I mean, this is what Rodri said, that Channel 4 might take on more of a commercial role, which would be good, because at the minute they're only getting 10 games a year. So more free-to-air rugby league, like we're going to see on Saturday with Hull KR against Wigan. That is what the sport needs, in my opinion. But again, we know Channel 4 don't pay anything for those 10 games. Effectively, it's free publicity for the sport of rugby league. And unfortunately, the sport of rugby league, if it wants to remain as a professional elite sport, which the Super League clearly is, it needs to bring in money from these deals. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But, you can sort of... It'd be very difficult for those on the outside. You kind of feel the tectonic plates are going to slowly shift. Just on IMG, Matt, you're a player. Has anybody spoken to you? What's the player's perception of what's happening? Do you actually know what is happening?
No, I don't know.
Do you know about the grading, the pillars? How important these golden pillars are going to be? Because the golden pillars, they're going to effectively decide who's going to be in this top tier competition in 25.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard a player not know what's going on. So,
oh wow.
To be fair, I've been thinking about this though. How much do you want the players to be stressing themselves over that? Yeah. I think maybe there's some direction where they can be pushed to express yourself off the field a bit and try and make like stars, as we discussed. But apart from that, I don't know how much actually you want the players to be.
I totally disagree. Disagree.
Joe, I disagree.
There's got to be a representative. There should be, every club should have at least one or two representatives.
I agree. That's different to what I'm saying. I'm saying the average player, if Stods isn't interested in
Stods is average?
No, the average player. You're a clown. The average player.
Stozza, as a player, are you interested? Be brutally honest now. Are you interested in probably what we'll call the men in suits and the politics of how the future of the sport is going to look? Are you as a player interested in that? Because ultimately, fundamentally, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Also, I like to know what's going on, because it's your job, innit? It's like...
We're back, and we've had an interchange. JoeMe, the money's gone off to eat his full English breakfast. Jimmy Mack, forever the lean machine he is taking Joe's seat. No, we're just saying about IMG. Joe was saying he doesn't feel that players need to know about everything that's going on. Craig was going to say players probably do need to know. They need to have that voice. You've only got to look at the current dispute in the NRL with the players' union having so much power over the governing body in terms of pay, their interpretation of what constitutes their pay and, all the contractual stuff there. But, I tend to agree. I'm glad Craig agrees with me, because I'm on the same wavelength. I genuinely believe the players should be taking a keen interest in what happens. Joe's at the back of the room eating his full breakfast. Joe, you'll have to shout.
No, I meant that all the players shouldn't have to be bothered, because there should be a strong players' union. If I could finish my point, a players' union should be doing it all in the interest of the players. I'm saying the average Joe player doesn't have to be thinking on his day off, I need to go fight for my right in pay gap.
Yeah, but should be guided.
That should be, okay, this is happening, like, brilliant, boom, not thinking too deep. The players.
I don't think that was the question, though, Joe. I think
I started the argument.
Yeah, but I'm going to pull Stoz up, but I think players do need to be yourselves.
Yeah, we need to know.
And you need to have a team leader, no doubt. But
that's why NRL is so good.
Yeah,
they have a really good.
And you do, but you're
all
also
together in the NRL.
Yeah, and
Super League Championship. My interpretation of the players is a lot of it is fractured.
I've never known any job you go into that you're not bothered about the future of it. So for me, individually, you as a man, you've got your first house, you've got your thing, you probably do need to be asking questions within the structure. I said this to Owen Trout and Matty. They should be asking hundreds of questions, and they should be saying to the clubs, find out what's going here. And if your clubs don't get answered, then you have to get some leadership and go and ask yourself, because if we don't bring these things up, you've had it, lads. Let me tell you. I said this before. Chairmen and CEOs are making calls on your behalf at the top table. No chance. Not for me. Not for me. You should have some type of representation in there to say, listen, they won't let the agents. That'd be easy. It was a weird one. When COVID happened, we wasn't involved in the initial talks, the agents, nothing to do with them. And then when the players wouldn't sign the lowest salary, suddenly, bang, they were coming at us from every angle. Oh, do you think you can have a word? I think it's in your favour. This is what the clubs were saying to us. I think you probably need to... And suddenly you were involved because they needed you to convince your players to take a drop, which I thought was so disrespectful for agents. We get a bad enough thing as it is. People say, "Oh, agents, money out of game, money," a load of shit, by the way, half of them stuff. But then to use you when they needed you, we weren't at the top table. We were at the fourth table, and it was only when you wasn't breaking the players. Some players at clubs said, "We're not going to take it." You were then brought in, each agent would put pressure on, because I got a couple of agents who rang me up and said, "Craig, have you been told this?" Because of course you have. You've been told. It's in the benefit of everybody. If the guys, now my personal view on that was, the guys should have took a drop. But I didn't let that be used. I bet you never heard me say that to players. I would never have said it. I'd have said, "Listen, this is your options, make your own call." On the future of the game, well, you are the future. We ain't got nothing else. We're selling players. We're selling a game, but the players are the most important. There's one this morning, it's come on. It's fascinating, and I've talked about it before me. And it's Charles Barkley's from the podcast last week. And on the podcast, he says, "Every time I see Larry Bird and Magic, I bow." And he said, the reason being is, it was I'm down. Charles worth 200 million. He said, we would not have got a 10th or a 50th of what we got if it won them two, carrying the league on its shoulders. Because the league had got that down because they've got drugs, they've got this, that, players, sex, all sorts going off. He said, along to come these two guys and just lifted the comp. And he says, they lifted it for 14 years till they passed it on to Jordan. Suddenly MJ come and they went here. And Jordan took it into another level. So players have made the difference in sports.
Well, Tiger Woods in golf.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So you've got to be.
You invest in the players, don't you?
100%. And you've got to be invested in your future. You've got to, honestly, you should be having a weekly meeting. If you can do it, or even a monthly with lads, just say, lads, do you want to have a chat? Somebody like, no offence, brilliant for Mick. Somebody like Mick would be able to tell you more about the game, what's happening. And then you could sit there and go, wow, we do need to. Because Mick's got no hidden agendas. Mick will say, I'm telling you, lads, this is what, he'll do it on this show. He'll say, this is what's happening. And I seem shocked sometimes when he tells me, I go, oh my God. I do think the players do strongly need it, mate.
I agree. And fundamentally, for instance, they've taken away promotion and relegation from the end of 24. How do you feel, Matty, as a player? I'm not saying Hull Kingston Rovers are going to be in this position, but, there is going to be players, and this is going to happen next year. Your players at other clubs, because I do genuinely think Hull Kingston Rovers are going to be safe on the grading and the pillars, but there is going to be players who you're friends with. It'll come to June, July time when they release that year's current live grading pillars, and there probably is going to be, when it goes live in 24 for the first time, there probably is going to be a Championship club replacing a Super League club. Imagine those players not knowing what on earth's going on and not having that investment in the futures, suddenly realising the music stopped.
You need to know, like Craig was saying, you need to invest. You need to know what's happening in your future as an employer. You need to think about the future, like you said. So we need to know really.
I mean, we've had
players.
It'd be different, it takes people have got to eventually stand up in any walk of life, and say, listen, this is not happening. We don't like this. It'd be great. I won't even know what your views are. I speak to lads regular about anything, but like you said, we probably all avoid. Hey boys, this boring topic of your future. Well, it ain't a boring topic, it's your future. You know what I mean? We've just debated. Me and Joe did the World Club debate. One of the things that we found fascinating, what I've had a lot of feedback on, is God, we didn't realise the gap. Like the gap on financials, 17 million Penrith have put into their system in investment. 17 million a year into their investment. That's more than our comp. We did some facts about what they spent the money on, and you're like, oh my God.
You see the trade facilities.
It's just so good. And then there were 30 players who've gone on to play, whatever. We're sat here in our thing, and people didn't know the difference in their cap and our cap. So making the Saints games even more enormous than we can even dream about. Somebody said, oh, well, Wigan beat them in 80 whatever, and Leeds beat them. I said, yeah, salary cap when Leeds beat them were about 1.5 difference.
I think when
there was hardly any difference.
2005, that game, I feel, at Ellen Road, I feel that the salary cap certainly was not double. It might have been a third more, and now it's nearly treble.
Yeah.
So it's those are the things that of course, there can always be an upset in a one-off game, but the hard facts are that, like you say, it's not, you're talking 20, 30 to 1.
Well, if you look at your Stos, you look at players now. Say you all went in now. I'll put you one here, which is a big debate. Stos has a meeting at LKR. Kenny Dowell's their leader, and he goes, right, guys, we're down in tools unless we put the salary cap up. So we're going to put pressure on the investors. LKR have just announced 4 investors all wanting to put money in, but they can't because the caps, they're not had to put more money in the caps. So the only area they can put money in is in academy, is in other stuff, facilities.
The stadium,
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
Now that, let's be honest, we'll all talk like men. I've done that. That's okay, but it doesn't give you that. Not like watching you put 200 grand in the play you put in comes round corner and you're like, oh, that's because that's what you feel as a businessman.
Yeah.
Yes, you want to do all the business stuff exactly right, but you're only getting your buzz because this is what people forget. They're working 60 hours a week on their own business in the grind. When they come there, they want to see a bit of something else. They want to see a bit of that. They want to see a new signing walking on bang, and that's what they pay for. They can go and put their own stuff into their own business on infrastructure. You get me?
Yeah.
Now, if all the players at KR had got together and said, right, we're not going to do this. We want the salary cap to go up because our average wage is that bad now. These young players are playing on 12,000 quid, minimum 15. This is this. We can't afford a car and a house, none of us. 40% of the team can't afford a house and a car. What do we do? And you said we're not going to play. What happened?
God knows. We've been forced to play, I don't know.
What do you think could happen?
Well, are we talking just one team or all teams?
They might roll it. They might say, right, we need to stop now and stop. But let's just say, what do you think could happen?
One team.
Are we talking one team or all everyone united?
If Kenny Dowell said, right, my lads, we're not going to play on this day. Let's say, I'm not saying do it.
No, is this isolated to Hulkinson Rovers or is this every Super
Well, if
League
it
club?
isolates them, then it'd be opened out, surely.
Right, if it is everyone,
Yeah.
I would give it a week before there'd be some sort of meeting set up where that salary cap increase would be discussed. I think there would be a brand new players' union created off the back of it, just like that. Because one thing I do feel IMG / RFL commercial is they do not want what has happened where there's fractions splitting off and a bit of infighting. Because the only way the sport's ever going to grow is if we're all together and we're all in a united front. So yeah, Craig, to answer your question, I would give it an absolute week, a fortnight at most, before the ball's rolling to get the salary cap, which at the minute is crap, increased. I'd give it a fortnight.
If everybody did it,
Yeah.
I agree with me. But if Ulkar did it on my own, we're going to get a walkover and Ulkar would be minus 6 points for, you know.
I'm not saying thing, I'm saying in life, sometimes eventually.
But the only way... And it won't be now. Like, to do it now would be ridiculous. Yeah. This is things that should be done in the close season.
Well, obviously.
But that's where... I think first step is that there should be a proper players' union. And I don't mean that disrespectful to what's currently in place. But need to follow in the footsteps. If that is the only way we're going to get the salary cap to increase, I'd like to think we've got to increase the crap salary cap. Anyway, I'd like to think IMG are going to do that anyway.
Not a chance.
You don't think IMG are going to increase
Not even in their... Not even in their thoughts.
I think it will be.
Until the only way it'll happen is if what's happening at the moment, if the young players keep on going.
To be fair, what IMG, when we had that initial meeting where we were shown the presentation, they did say, without naming the clubs, I put it on Twitter, 4 clubs historically, one of them has been you, sorry Matty, they've not spent the full cap. We know they're now spending full cap, now they've got the investment, but IMG were quite right. 4 clubs historically have not spent the full cap, so that is why from 25 there is going to be that minimum spend. There's going to be a salary cap ceiling. If you want to be a Super League club, if you want to be a top tier club, you have got to spend that. There can be none of this. You take 1.6, 1.7 and you're paying your office staff, you're paying your club secretary, you're paying your groundsman out of that, and you're not putting that money into the team, which is then devaluing the on-field product. And that's what IMG have said. And I applaud that. That is a fantastic...
But that's why I think it links to my view is that's IMG's step one of making sure the clubs invest in the roster.
Yes.
And that's why I imagine that they will have to look at least increasing it, not necessarily totally releasing it, but increasing the cap.
Matt Shaw did a thing, didn't he? And he said there's no. I know you get. Sorry, Matthew Shaw. He gets a bit. Matt Shaw did a thing on Twitter saying, because he's the #1 journalist in UK. He did a thing on. What were you laughing for?
Fuming.
I'm just saying. So he did it.
I'm not fuming. This show is just full of opinions.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. So he said there's no thirst of the owners to go any higher, and he did it on social media. He said he rang everybody, and no one's now until somebody comes out and a top club says that's not quite true. That's absolutely not true. We do want to spend more. We do a business model based on our lowest model. Do you get me? Do you know what I'm saying there? So we put the cap based on what the bottom 3 clubs can afford. Yeah. We don't do what the top 3. Yeah. So it's crazy because most other sports will take it to there. They'll say, let's do what they can afford and you better make your way up there. Yeah. We don't. We go bottom.
The bottom don't not get to the cap.
Exactly.
So how does that work?
But that's why IMG, I don't see how the biggest threat to the product is players, the top talent leaving. And as the gap gets bigger, and as the Australian cap gets bigger and the ratio shrinks, like we were talking about the World Club Challenge, it used to be a bit different, then it became double, now it's nearly treble. That's where we're going to, IMG will be well aware that young superstars, player power will be going. And the only way to stop that is to increase the cap, to increase the likelihood that players will never leave for money. And if a young player wants to go to play in the top level and challenge themselves, brilliant. But the fact now that it's a massive thing, but the financial difference is so huge, IMG have got to be addressing that.
I think there's only the players that'll ever do it. Because the agent, let's say they said to the agent, we're going to drive this to the agent. Agents that busy fighting for the crumbs of each other's table that they would never unite. Yeah. They just wouldn't do it. They'd say yeah they would, and then they'd snake you on back. Yeah. The clubs will all go for their own agenda. The players are the ones who would have to drive that and say, listen, let me tell you, we are all going to be going there in next 3 to 5 years. Every young if we did a survey now and said to every young talent in our game, do you want to go Australia? We know the answer, don't we? Yeah. What's the answer, Stas?
We'll go.
Without a moment's hesitation.
It should be there. It should be kids' dream of playing the Super League, not playing in NRL. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, and we know because it's happened with agents lately, Mick. A lot of agents are going in, and when they're doing presentations, we won't do it. We won't sell the Australia dream at source. They're doing it. They're walking in and getting players on the back of, this is what we think we can do here at a young age. And you're going, I wouldn't dare put a dream into a kid's head like that. I'd say if you achieve these 15 goals, then there might be a chance. But you've never said to me at source. The problem is everybody's thinking that now. We're on the verge of one of the biggest launches we're supposed to be ever. We've got 2 games this week. We've got a championship game. Things we should be absolutely buzzing, which we are. Hopefully, this show's about positivity. But I'm telling you now, unless these players take a grip of it, and you probably need somebody as well who they're shit scared of the system. Do you know what I mean? We probably never had it. We'd probably never had that player who goes to lads. If I go, you know, if LeBron James said something.
Yeah, you follow me, wouldn't you?
Oh my God.
You'd be like,
lads, this is what we're doing. Yeah. Right, LeBron's bigger than the game. So
that's the vicious circle because we don't have the superstars. Inverted commas. Where in the NRL, when a few of those big names get together, they've no choice but to listen.
Oh, 100%. That's why they're clever who they put on committee. Yeah. They put Cherry Adams, they put the ones on who they knew would have the voice. You wouldn't tell me anybody in our country. Maybe Sam. But maybe not now, and maybe that's 2 years late for Sam.
Probably for mine, the only player I think of is probably someone like Roby at St Helens. Who could actually be that person who...
No, because he's not going to come out of any comfort zone. He's not that...
No, I'm not saying he's gonna. I'm saying
if
he was the one to do it.
The difference is what's happening with NRL. You're talking about lads who are doing it have still got 5 years left. It's not just for lads in the last year who arguably, you know... you know, that's one way of looking at it. But I'd argue you need to get... Cruz Lehman is the player who is self-promoting better than anyone else at the moment. Off the top of my head, you need to get 6 or 7 of them who will happily go in, but it's hard because a lot of those players have got one eye on Australia. So,
Wow.
you know what I mean? Are they really... The NRL lads, it's easy. They're not thinking of going anywhere. They just want to look after themselves.
Listen, the new pot in Australia
in
is that big. They've got another 1.8 to go fishing for you lot, right?
Yeah.
This is aimed at you. I'm looking directly at you, right? So they're fishing and saying, we've got another 1.whatever million. Go and find the players in England because we can't get no more here. We've produced every bit of this sauce we're getting. So they've got to come over here. We have to counteract that immediately. The only way you can counteract that immediately is to put the salary cap up. I even think some of the players wouldn't even know what we mean by salary cap up. So your average wage, what you're on, would go, let's say we go up 20%. Yeah. I don't know what they could do it, but let's say 15%. So that means everybody at your team would get a 50% more on the salary, which would have a massive... You know, Stoz, you've come through the system at Bradford and KR. It's hard to live off that wage, isn't it?
Well, when I went at Bradford, I had to work, like, coming through. Also, when you play, you get rewarded for what you're worth, really, you know what I mean?
But even at KR, your first 2 years,
it's
hard, isn't it, for a player to survive? How do you survive?
Yeah, also, I was lucky enough to have good parents, but also people in different situations, so they have to move out, and obviously it's hard to... It's hard.
We don't like big family sports in the world car share like us.
Yeah.
A lot. No, seriously.
I had to go. That's one of the reasons I could afford to get there. I had to car share with these 5 lads a day.
With Bradford boys.
Don't get me wrong, I loved it.
Who goes it about? Ethan Ryan.
He wishes.
No, but you don't understand that.
No, I do. And this is the point I want to try and get across to the viewers. The viewers don't realise. I mean, obviously you're not on peanuts now, but players. A lot of championship and those young players breaking through Super League, they're not on the 40-50 grand people.
Well, I've had a conversation this morning about the only probable way a lad is going to have an opportunity and a chance and be able to go and give it a go to restart his career is if he can manage to get to the coach's house to get lift with the coach to go to training. You know, and we're having those sorts of conversations.
I know it. I agree with you.
Whereas in other sports, we're talking about, should I wrap that car in grey or green? You know,
you're
right about the car share. Dick Patton at Bradford, for instance, last year he had the Evans brothers and Walker.
But Mick explain why the car sharing. Please tell people.
Yeah, so basically, why the players are car sharing is because they're not paid a lot of money and they can't afford the petrol. That's the truth. Craig, that's the truth, isn't it?
You know it. That doesn't tell you.
They're only laughing rather than crying.
I don't want people to think it's because they all want to have company. Yeah, they have a laugh, but they do it because they have to save money.
Because the cost of living crisis, it's affecting.
No, before that.
Yeah. Well,
before that as well, but the cost of living and petrol going up has
even more
has accelerated it. Yeah, poor Dick Patton. You know, he's lost the Evans brothers and Walker. He's telling me it's costing me 240 quid a week.
Well, those Range Rovers aren't great on miles per gallon, have they?
Warrington to get Bradford. Then Bradford signed Josh Johnson from Winters, and Deck's like, here we go. That 240 is now 120.
I'll probably,
my first year at Cal, so I signed there, not on the good money, but I wouldn't be able to afford to get to training if I didn't have car share. You know what I mean? I couldn't afford. If I went on my own, I'd be paying $500 obviously to hold Iceland and Keighley. It's like a 4 hour round trip. It cost me a fortune. I wouldn't be able to afford it. Looking for car sharing. It's like, I mean, it's mad. It's mad, but
I'd actually say that in part-time rugby, and this is off the top of my head, and this is including League One and Championship, and including the whole squads. Obviously, the top earners are not. I wouldn't be surprised if 20% and certainly 10% of players in the close season, it's costing them money to train. Once the season starts and the match payments might come, it might be down to 10. But there's an awful lot of players in League One and Championship that pay to play. You know, they pay to play. There's a lot in there. There is, because of the cost of getting to training 3 times a week for some lads. It can be £100 a week in fuel.
I agree.
You know, that's £400. So you're talking you need $5,000 a year, which is way above the average League One salary to break even.
I agree, Jimmy. And what I'm trying to hopefully let the listeners know, we're having a bit of a jovial crack at it. But you've got Rowan Mills, Elliot Mitchell, Ethan Ryan, Matty Storton, Anna Sumadotti. You've got all these young players, Super League players, and I'm not saying you're squabbling over petrol, but you're like, well, Rowan, you're driving Monday.
No, they do, that's it, it's true.
Because of the cost of
If you can
petrol.
dodgy drive, you want a dodgy drive. no, I know dodgy drivers now. George King loves a dodgy driver.
No, but they do, honestly, it's true. And what they'll do is, if people realise, even at their level, and as them two lads said 2 weeks ago, we don't feel like stars. We don't sound like an Ed by saying I want to be a star, but they felt embarrassed to say it. I watched it back a couple of times. I'm like, God, even a young player like Trouty and daren't say I want to be a star, like they saw Tyson Fury and they'd all run up for autograph and they were all Huddersfield like in the tracksuits. Not one person said, "Oh, who are you? What do you do?" And I said, this is all part of the change what IMG and if they implement the change, hopefully. But I still think we'll go back to, you probably do need, and I've said this for probably 8 years, you know this on JoeMe, probably do need that superstar. We probably do need somebody who cares about the game. So you're going to have to get a mix of leadership qualities. You're going to have somebody who lads like. Because first thing lads will do if they think he's a whatever,
It's a big thing,
they'll go bump, not a chance. If he rings me, they'll go back.
Yeah.
2, it has to be somebody who is the top of the game and still loads of years left, so he's not making a decision as he's leaving. Great point by Owen Trout. He said, Jermaine or one of the older ones, Leroy, had said to him, listen guys, we're not making these calls for us, we're gone after, we're making it for your future. And lads understood it then, they were like, all right, yeah. But it needs to find maybe 1 or 2 of them people who have got, and they're willing to, what Jimmy's saying, they're willing to do the media trail, they're willing to go out there and put this out in the modern world and say, we've got to change it, lads, we've all got to change our ways. Think about what we've just said, we've got 3 games going this week, you're playing in one of them. That fixture of yours is mouth-watering for me. Like, as a rugby league fan and a sports fan, could you get any better than you're playing Wigan on Saturday?
Yeah.
You've got Leeds Warrington on Thursday.
That's a massive
You've
game,
got York and Bradford tonight. I think we've got best week of rugby league, and then we've got St Helens v Penrith. So us as sports fans, it's the greatest week in the. Ready for this? It's our greatest week of all time. We've got 4 games, all which I would pay for anything to go and watch. Yeah.
Well, I know where you're going tonight, so.
No.
Why did you-
Yeah, I agree. You know what I'm saying? I've got 4 games right there. How much have we sold that this week's probably the best 4 games in?
You bet that will also have on Twitter and that you don't really see like massive highlights happening this weekend. Massive.
Well, if bad news comes on, they're like
Also,
top on a
you've
kipper.
seen obviously the story what's happened this week.
Yeah.
That's bigger than like the opening week. So yeah, it's
Scandal sells, I've told you, Craig.
Yeah.
We've done this show
Good news
together
don't sell.
for 4 years. Good
saying
news and
every-
positivity
I
doesn't
get it,
sell.
but
Scandal
I get
sells.
it, I get it, I'm a real will, but come on.
Stuff happening down now.
Let me say,
sells.
Sam's going to do this for us. I want us to start this show with 4 fixtures. We're selling full 8 today. We'll put them 4. And that should be what it's sold on. IMG should be saying, if you're a rugby league fan or a fan of sport or rugby, this is the week to be a fan, boys. Yeah. You've got 4 of the greatest. You're going to see 4 unbelievable games within 7 days. Yeah. What more do we want? Well, I'll tell you what, we could sit here and we'll mention it. Yeah. They won't be mentioning it on Twitter.
And you're forgetting Donny Hunslet, first game of League One as well.
We'll have to sell him in again, Jim. One.
It's just for Carl. It's just for Carl Hall, that one.
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to be. Everyone should be buzzing. It's a weird one, Stoz. I'll ask you this. Do rugby players watch other games?
I do watch games. I watch them. I get pretty excited. Rugby's on tonight.
Your dad's a big fan.
Yeah, my dad loves it. Yeah, and
Your mum?
yeah, well, she doesn't know what's going on half the time, but when she watches me, sorry.
Just to
Yeah,
clarify.
yeah. Sorry, Mum. Yeah, I do watch games personally, but I know obviously a lot of lads who don't bother. You know what I mean? I don't know why that is. Get away from rugby, they like to watch it. I think that's a lot of that. Well, it is half at times to get away from rugby, but it's good to watch.
That's the famous one, you know, when players used to walk in and they did it to me at Doncaster, and luckily I'd got a bit of background, but saying about free tickets. And I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, my mum and dad, and then they went through Auntie George and Vera. And I famously said, well, if your auntie won't pay to watch you play, what chance we got?
Yeah. I famously claimed
We're off Tommy Docherty.
I was going to say, you did.
Yeah, I told you the story. Yeah, so I famously at Donny, I said that to a player, and he went and said, I can't believe he's just said it, and I thought it was hilarious. Because I said, wow, if you're wanting 8 free tickets, you can have 2, but other 6 have got to pay, surely. Yeah. And he was like, oh, they won't come. I went, well, what? They won't come unless they get a free pee. And it was true. Yeah. Do you know another one? Were the ex-players? Do you know ex-players association? One day it come and I think it was Carly come in. It was, bro, we need 30 tickets. Ex-players they deserve it, mate. They've been legends. I goes, I get it. So I said, I'll do it. And then I was like, oh, how often do they come? He goes, once a year. So I was like, what do you mean? And I'm probably from a different background. So I was like, will they not come and watch? They went, no, they come on the association. That's when they come. And I went, all right, we're probably asking fans for a bit much then.
Well, the Super League, it starts. Leeds against Warrington on Thursday evening. Just quickly, everyone's thoughts. We don't need to go into great detail. Start with you, Matty. Who have you got to win that?
I don't know. Really. I think Warrington was signed really well. It's got a lot of good middles, so I'll say Warrington, but Leeds are very good. I think they've got a lot of exciting players, so yeah, could go either way.
One thing I didn't realise until I spoke to Rowan at the launch was they've got 11 out. They've got a lot of injuries, and I think like when we said last week about their performance against you in that friendly with so many of them young, 23 squad number plus. There's going to be a very similar sort of. But Rowan's going to deal with that, like Rowan probably can do. But yeah, I think Leeds are probably going to be in for a bit of a topsy-turvy first third of the season. But I did ask Rowan the question, Craig, did he overachieve last year? Rowan always downplays, that sort of stuff. But, a nice little bit where he said, maybe in years to come when he hangs up his coach's cap, he might be able to reflect on it and probably, reflect on that they probably did overachieve. They probably were, in terms of that expectation from the fan base and everybody, they probably have jumped 12 months down the track. But certainly a tough opening for Leeds. I've got Warrington by 12.
Is Josh Maguire's confirmed ban yet? Is he definitely out for this game? I know him and Amone it was on Tuesday.
They're supposed to be meeting on Tuesday.
I don't know whether there's a chance for him to overrule
they can appeal it.
Because I think that could initially be. I kind of had Warrington as slight favourites, but if they've lost Maguire, from what we saw in Maguire the other day, he could be a massive part of Warrington this year. Well, he will be. Yeah. So I've still got Warrington slight favourites just because Leeds have, a few more men down and it's sort of a Halliwell Jones. But I'm thinking of it. If Warrington will win, well done Warrington, good start to the season. If Leeds win, that's an unbelievable start. To pick up those points with a few key players still missing. But maybe that Josh Maguire thing just kind of brings it back in the balance because he was awesome against Lee. And if they're going in without him, then they've got to rejig. So ever so slight. I won't be going 12. I won't be going 12 points though. I think it's.
You don't think it'll be as high as 12?
I don't know really. It's too hard to call. Too hard to call because who knows? We saw glimpses of Warrington the other week that they were getting it together a little bit, but it's still.
You're sitting on the fence, Jim.
I am sitting.
I'm just straight down. I said, Laurie.
I've never seen no one sit on a fence.
Listen.
That is the splinters of all. He's actually thinking at Leeds players and thinking it's the same.
No, I just think it is too hard. I love making a call, but I think it's too hard.
Right then, I'll make a quick call. Based on what I've seen pre-season, and people keep saying Leeds have got players out, but we said it last week, they were going to play the team that played KR. There won't be much difference. The team that played KR, Warrington will put more than 12 on them. Absolute 100% simple.
Warrington will put more than 12.
100%. If it's the team that played KR and they've got nobody back.
Rowan said to me,
they've definitely got
11 out. They've got 11 out.
There's a simple answer. 100% based on form you've watched and the 3 friendlies Leeds have played. Based on the squad they've now got currently available. Forget about Ulster impact. We keep saying that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Cruz.
We said about Ulster to start the season. Ulster to start the season when I saw the Warrington that yes, on form they're 12 points better than Leeds.
You're going 12 to have. I'll go Warrington by 4.
There we go. Right, Lee Salford, the Lee Leopards, Friday night. That's another TV game, Craig. We forgot to mention.
Is it? Is that on Friday?
It's at the Lee Sports Village. Yeah. So Derek will be watching. Saying.
So we've got 6 games. That's some mad.
Yeah, right. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
Lee Leopards, 2023. They're not coming up into Super League to try and avoid the relegation spot. They are literally all guns blazing.
Leal, 100% what I've seen. Leal.
I was at that game when
they sound very well, don't they?
I was at that game when they played Leeds and they beat Leeds. I think it was 12 points to 8. I know it was a late Zakade try, but you just look at that Leeds squad and.
But they've lost to Monet as well with the same thing with Maguire.
Correct.
He didn't get sent off today, but he's been given the same grade F.
Yeah, I'm led to believe they're hearing on me this
loss.
week, but even if they do appeal, I think they've still got to.
No, they've got a grade F. It's just whether they appeal or.
They've just got to decide whether to appeal. It
No,
was
but-
bad language. Bad
the
language. Referee, and it sounds like they've had an argument. It's all verbal, but they've both been given
I got sent
full.
the report. It's on the RFL website.
Yeah, it's a long thing.
It's relating to race of colour. It's on the minutes is on there, so something's clearly been said.
Yeah, all
regarding
homophobic. It's a
so-
general description.
Yeah.
Of the grade F. But they're both. But Amone's a huge loss. How good's he been? We've seen Lee twice in pre-season. He's been awesome.
Yeah,
So
but I
that's
still
a
think
huge
they'd have
loss.
enough for Salford at this time. I don't know if Salford will
We'll
get
start with you and work this way.
Yeah, I what I've seen in League, and I haven't seen Salford, so disrespectfully, I'm talking about a team I haven't watched on telly or any footage or even live, but I was that impressed with League that they're willing to grind it. They've got the players' average age to be about 29, 30, so they've got real dogged, experienced Super League players. And to be fair to young Lammy, I think he actually could be one of the stars of the show based on what I've seen. I don't know if Joe Mellor's back. I think Chesney said it's another couple of weeks before Joe.
Mellor's
4
not
6
back,
weeks before Joe's back. That's a problem. They've got to find a partner, in my opinion. I don't think the other lads have found the partner for him yet. But I have a feeling that they'll. I mean, it's a great fixture because
Brilliant start.
Derek v. I know they crack. I know Paul said when me and Joe met Paul Rowley and Ian Please, and Rowley's like God.
There'll be a cauldron there.
They bring my name up all the time at Lee. My name comes up like, Paul Rowley went back to Lee, argument with Derek, argument with this, and he said it takes away the football. Yeah. On form, what I've seen this year, I think just Lee.
Yeah. I think Amone's a big loss. I think Lee's advantage, they're going to have probably the biggest pre-game show ever seen in Super League history. I think Derek's throwing the kitchen sink at it. They've got the band on. And I think that will help, but I am going to go Salford by 6.
I'm same as Craig. I haven't watched Salford, but I've seen a bit of Lee because I think we've got the second game, haven't we? So I'm going to go Lee, I reckon. Signed really well. Got what's the centre? Latelli's a very good player.
Zach's on fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think they signed well, so I haven't seen out Salford, so I'm going to go Lee.
I'm going Lee Centurions purely because it's
Lee Leopards.
Lee Leopards, sorry.
Yeah, Mick.
I know.
Derek,
Should know this.
Derek, you spent all that money and he's still saying Lee Centurions. I give up.
Derek.
It still says Bradford Northern, but
Derek.
That's a lot chicken deck.
Derek, the only way to implant the leopards into my brain, another afternoon in box. No, I'm only joking. Joking aside, Lee Leopards, I think it's going to be that first game sort of mentality. You see it time and time again, the club that comes up, as Jimmy's alluded to, scouting for girls, are doing the pre-match, heading towards a sellout. How many of that sellout crowd at Lee on Friday are actually there for the rugby or the band? Who knows? But who cares? The job's been done by Derek. And I just think, like you say, there's going to be that bounce back ability and that first game. And like I say, what I saw them against Leeds, because they were in the arm wrestle and they were working the meters. There's no complaints on there, and by and large kept intact pretty much the nucleus of the team that managed to get them up. Plus, like you say, Ricky Latelli, Hardacre, strengthened significantly.
Briscoe, there's quite a few.
Yeah. Listen,
Good signs.
I've got Lee by 8.
Right. Joe? I'm on my own here with Salford.
No, Salford by 6.
I'll say.
Salford by 6.
So,
yeah, I think
we've got a close game.
Yeah.
What
should
about
be
Leeds
close.
and Warrington?
Well, go on, you carry on.
He's not done his Leeds Warrington.
I know, but I think sometimes when you shout from back, it looks like we're in one of them cupboards.
I don't think it's that bad though.
Right.
You started last week.
Right. TV game number 4. St Helens against Penrith. It's at 7 o'clock on Channel 4, Saturday morning.
Right. Oh, is it?
So it's on Channel 4.
Oh, we've
at
got champagne breakfast and what? There you go.
It's at 7 o'clock.
It's at R6.
That'll be an early gig, that.
Yeah, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock Saturday, Channel 4. Again, another terrestrial TV game.
We can give it a plug, Mick. A lot of people watched it last night. We've done a Penrith.
Craig and JoeMe have done a Penrith St Helens World Cup Challenge preview.
And we got a text this morning, very early in the morning, from Lewis Dodd saying absolutely loved it.
Has he watched it?
He's watched it and he said it's got me right in the mood, Craig. We're ready to go. So that meant and I think he shared it with a couple of lads. I think he actually put it on social media that he loved it.
Head to Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. You're already here. You're watching us. So yeah, find the show and please watch it before Saturday's game. And Craig and Joe, they've done a lot of homework and analysing where it's going to go. Just quickly, my own thoughts on what happened on Saturday against St George. I don't want to take too much away from St Helens, Craig, but St George did play 30 players. And, you know, when you're playing 30 players, you're not getting the... As we alluded to before, you come, Jimmy, we went through the players that were missing for St George. There were quite a few missing. But listen, we're not taking anything away from St Helens in any way, shape or form. It was good to see him go over there. Nice warm-up game, get used to that intensity. I've got to be brutally honest, Craig. I see Penrith winning by 20 to 24 points. I just think the class between the elite NRL champions and the current Super League champions will be too much. You've already said Gus Gould were going, nope, it'll be over at half time, it'll be 30 or 40.
Don't mean we can't challenge it.
I don't think it'll be anywhere near that. I always see these games very similar to when Wigan went to play South Sydney a couple of years ago. And I said that, I think, on the full 80 then, I'll say it again. I think this game will go like a very traditional England-Australia game, where they'll be in the arm wrestle for a good 2/3 of the game, and then it'll be in that final third where you just see that drop-off, whether it's down to not being able to match them physically and keep that intensity up, and Penrith cut through. I hope they don't. I hope it's close. I hope it goes down to the wire. I hope, for God's sake, Helens win. You know, they'll be the first team to go over there and win since Wigan did against Brisbane, I think, in '94. So, you know, Saints would be making history, massive history. But I just don't see it, Craig. Penrith by 24.
It'll be interesting, Stoz. Have you spoke to any Aussie lads about this game?
I had a quick chat, I think, with one of them. But like, a lot of time, I don't think it's really that a big deal. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm saying, like, I spoke to him, like, it's
for us, it's massive.
Yeah,
I
don't know how invested the Aussie players are. Like, Penrith win. But like, obviously,
because Cayley always said when he was in London, he thought the Aussie players had a better knowledge of rugby than he said. They're anoraks of all. They watch it, they love it.
They must do. I don't know. I don't really speak to them about rugby much about it.
Would this game not be talked about in training last week?
I think, we did talk about that. I think.
What do they say?
I think they'll think a lot of them probably think Penrith will win, because I think I spoke to Willie about it. Like, obviously he was assistant coach last year at Newcastle. Said they were just unbelievable last year. Oh. Like, they were just so good, they did everything so well. So I think obviously they're back in Penrith. You know what I mean? But I think.
What do you think, Stoz?
I hope Saints win, mate. Like, but I feel like I think it'd be close. Cause I think Saints. I've played against Saints. I know what they do. They're very ruthless. But obviously it's a different kettle of fish over there. But I hope Saints is going to do it. But I think it will be close. I don't think it'd be.
Not quite as...
Yeah. Well, I'm back in the English team, so...
I don't want to be pessimistic, but I've got Penrith.
The last thing I think Saints needed was these temperatures that were expected. It could be up to 40 degrees Celsius, you know, so you...
Don't forget, it's the Australian summer over there.
Hopefully it wasn't that long since we were there, was it? Don't bring you back memories, but it... You know.
Well, your tan's starting to fade, Jimmy. You're on sunbeds now. You and John Bastian.
Basto can't be on.
Are you and John Bastian up buy one get one? I'm only messing.
So he's got a tan Basto.
I've never thought of that. He's outside all the time with shorts. I mean, what's his dog in shorts in winter, Basto? Doesn't he? He gets every bit of it.
The Terminator.
But I don't think Saints needed that. You know, it's going to be hard enough anyway. I'm the same as Stozzer. I'm hoping that, well, all of us, that Saints can have a real good go. Yeah. But if Saints can get within 20 of them, brilliant. The bookies have got it at 20 points. You can see why. So let's hope Saints get the rub of the green. Penrith, I don't know how many. I know they've had a game, but I don't know how much they've had. Yeah, let's just hope they get the rub of the green and it can stay close. You worry that if Penrith do get those early tries, then you worry. If Saints can keep it tight for 20 minutes, half an hour, and only be 1 or 2 tries down at half time, then yeah. let's hope for the best and hope it goes their way.
I think Saints started strong
Yeah.
against St George, didn't it? So
Yeah.
it's a big factor that started
Penrith
strong.
by how many?
Oh, I'm with you. 2024 is probably this. You've got to.
Well, we did it on the programme. My thoughts. I think Saints will have a right to get them, and I think he's just used the word what the Saints will do, even if they go down. Saints will keep to what they're going to do. They will not come off that game plan now. They won't be used to that, and as tight as what they are. Seriously, Saints could do. You could write down now on a piece of paper what Saints going to try and do against them, and they're going to try and do it. And I think what Lewis is saying, and it's hard because Lewis is a young man. I don't want to put pressure on him because he's coming back off it. Whatever. He's got a lot of pressure himself. But they are so giddy. The Saints players are so absolute thinking that they're loving that everyone's wrote them off. I know it sounds all cliche and boring, but imagine sat in the middle of Australia now with 4 times winning champions, with a team of lads who are actually some of the best ever to play Super League, and they're getting wrote off by 50. And Gus Cole's going like this, and they're thinking, are you kidding me? Are you giving me... So I think there's a little bit of that. And I think you'll see that first 20 minutes. I hope Penrith haven't had a friendly. I hope they've had no warm-ups whatsoever, and I hope we blast the legs off them quick.
Because they didn't play last week, did they? This weekend.
So I think we do, and I think what Saints will do, and know exactly from the minute 1 to the minute 80 what they're going to do. And God help them, if Saints get a grip of that game, I'm telling you, that line speed, and you know the pressure they put on you. And I know people are going to say, this is ridiculous, the class above. We're talking the class above.
That's it.
Well, let's see if it's a class above. Because one thing for sure, Saints' system to beat the Aussies would be more effective, in my humble opinion, than England to beat the Aussies. Because them lads know exactly what they're going to do, and they'll know what each other... Yeah, I'm serious.
4 years, haven't they?
Because they've been together for that long, so they'll know exactly what they've got to do. Whereas England are put together in 6 weeks and told to go and try Aussies and like things, but I think these lads, that's like Penrith, don't get me wrong, Penrith are in the same boat. But there's nothing going to be unusual for these. I think they've done the preparation great, and I think they'll do us proud. I think they'll do us proper proud.
Scoreline, Craig, please.
I'm going to go for, and I've got quite a lot right lately, so I'm going to be careful on this.
Just 60 points out.
Well, World Cup, when I got about, the results I got there, people are still talking about that. I would say it could go down to 8 points.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, if it's 5 minutes to 9 Saturday morning and it is 8 points or less, then wow, St Helens have had a real commendable dig. And I guess it kind of does show how far St Helens are against everybody else here, but more importantly, just how close St Helens are to the Penrith Panthers in the NRL.
I think there was quite a funny one where he'd said, I hope I can send this out. I clickbait and doing me. Please don't. I'm not mentioning his name, but I don't want to.
Callum Walker,
No. I like Callum. By the way, Callum's done a lot of respect lately. He's actually started putting the full story, which we always said, as long as he promotes and gives the full story.
And he promotes the show, yeah. Callum, if you're watching, a few links to the show. Let's get Craig get some YouTube money in.
But I was going to say, I think some of the journalists and people who'd seen Lewis and Wellesby after the game were saying, not be long before you're over here, you've got to come, you're not going to play. And so they definitely don't rate us at all, do they? When I think about it, it's like, because they've seen young lads who are playing to that level, it's like, oh, we're singing next year anyway, you'll be coming here next 2 years. I mean, imagine hearing that. You think about it, you think, wow,
it would be brilliant for us to be proud of Saints if they can really have a good dig. And the typical Australian Rugby League fan has zero respect for Super League. We don't watch it. Why would we in Bareheads? We've got the NRL there, which is miles better. So if
Peter always said he would watch it.
He's a rugby player.
For it.
There isn't.
Like, no. I'm saying what he said. You're not saying he's
no, he's a player. I'm on about the.
I know many people who are in Australia who watch Super League.
The vast majority of Australian NRL fans do not watch Super League because they've got that product there. That's just how it is.
Well, that's a very big statement.
All right, well,
I think that's a big statement.
I've got to disagree with you, Jimmy. So.
All right. You can disagree. Of course,
I know where you're coming from.
There's some Australians that definitely do watch
I know
like
where you're coming from.
As a general rule, they don't, and you can, from their perspective, you can see why. What I'm saying is, if Saints can get us some respect that we believe we deserve, and that our comp, for what it's worth, is not a million miles away. Let's hope we do, because it's another thing we need to stop this gap growing. So we need Saints. Even Wigan fans, even Leeds fans, we need Saints to do us proud and do a good job for many reasons.
Mick, can you read this? You're better at reading than me. That's from an Australia fan this morning.
Yeah.
And it's just about...
So it's Brett Roberts. Thank you, Brett. Hopefully you like and subscribe. I just hope for your Super League you do well. God love you, Poms. You're all got such hope and you're all proud of your St Helens team. And good on you. Rugby League is the greatest game of all and needs your English Super League thriving. And International Rugby League needs England, St Helens challenging. But especially for us Aussies, we love a tough Ashes series. I grew up watching you Poms smashing us in the 70s. And Tommy Bishop and Cliffy Watson are such favourite Sharkies of mine. Both Sharks legends. And by the way, Tommy Bishop would eat Louis Stodds alive, mate. Anyway, I'm dribbling on too much. Brett, sounds like you've taken a leaf out of Craig's book. No, I'm joking. Anyway, I'm dribbling on too much, but quickly, about St Helens and Penrith. Here we go. St Helens just played St George. 2-3 and look good in parts. I like Louis Stodds, your half, and your big... Well, he's put Dodds, but yeah. Your half and your big prop, and also Tommy Makinson. You've got some good players. It's a big ask to beat the champions Penrith. I think the pace of NRL footy is the biggest difference in the skill level of these Panthers. I do believe St Helens are going to struggle keeping up with Penrith. I'm sorry, but that's how I see it. But good luck to St Helens, and I hope it's a lot closer than what most are thinking over here. P.S. I love your great show. Thank you, guys. That's lovely. St Helens Beast said this, to be fair. Mal Meninga believes St Helens could upset Penrith in the World Cup. Apparently, he said this. I think the way Saints play is a bit more expansive and the way they use the football should and could worry the Penrith side. They could worry most teams in Australia. Whether or not he's actually said that, I don't know, but that's a comment on the on the YouTube. But Brett, thank you very much for that. Joe, just quickly, I know you've got to shout.
No, you come in here.
What was your score prediction for that, the big one?
Score prediction.
What was he did down 6 times?
It doesn't sound
We
like
did last
3. I think the score prediction for Saints Penrith, I've got Penrith winning about 22-12, I think.
So 10.
Yeah.
What?
10.
10 points.
10
Oh, sorry, 10
Sorry,
points.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wait,
I can see it being a very close arm wrestle for a good 30 minutes, and I think Penrith, I think they'll both get a couple of good tries.
That's how I see it, to be
and
fair.
then maybe a try or two at the end just seals the deal for Penrith. But I think it'll be closer than most people think in terms of just the arm wrestle. Maybe Penrith just win the meter gain. You know what I mean? So I think maybe they'll just edge closer and closer set per set. But then I think eventually it'll be quite close and maybe a try or two between it. But Penrith, if I'm going in depth, Penrith more in control of the game. I'd say.
No issue with the heat?
Well, they've been there 2 weeks now. I don't, you know what I mean? There's only a certain amount. I think they've been there a couple of weeks. They'll probably be training in it every day, getting used to it. I don't think it'd be as big of an issue as some people make out, unless there's a... It sounds bad, unless there's a load of gingers on the Saints team, which I don't think there is. I think we're all right. I think they'll be all right in terms of the heat.
I did read this morning that they're allowing 18-man squads instead of 17, so they've got an extra player. Have you seen that, Craig? They've both got an extra player. It's 18 men because of the heat, and they're allowed 10 interchanges rather than 8. With extra drinks breaks as well, so that might throw a little extra angle in, which might arguably benefit Saints more than it benefits Penrith. So I hope you're right. If it ends up like that, that'll be amazing. But it could easily be a lot.
22-12, yeah.
Stodd's teammates just sent a little message.
What's he saying?
Just letting up the Saints.
What it says, yeah.
Yeah.
There
well,
we
that's
go.
good, isn't it? I think
Helps it
everyone's
out,
behind
Listen,
him. aren't they?
everybody in this country, even, well, it might be debatable if you're a Wigan fan, because I always remember 2005 when Leeds had that first World Cup challenge against Canterbury at Ellen Road. I was at Ellen Road and I was cheering all the Canterbury tries. So yeah, that does happen.
Mate.
That does happen.
Mate, that's shocking. Mate.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
How is
will
it
be.
shocking behaviour? The Wigan fans will be
mate.
cheering the Penrith tries.
there will be,
Exactly, yeah.
Everyone except Wigan, hopefully.
Exactly.
And maybe Warrington
Yeah,
fans.
yeah.
Some Leeds fans. but-
I was still. It was still the hangover from what happened in 04 at Old Trafford in Grand Final. Oh, that still haunts me. Maguire, this diving over that line when it was 10-8 and it could have gone either way. Anyway, final game we're previewing is OKR versus Wigan. Matty, you're a good Bradfordian. You're a good Bradford lad.
Keithler.
He's a Keithley lad, mate.
Listen, I'm not having any of
Keithley.
this Keithley. Keithley's a Bradford postcode, so Keithley is just a little.
I'm not from Bradford.
He's from K-Town. There we go. You know what? This should be again another Craven Park packed to the rafters.
Yeah,
You've had that good result against Leeds. It does seem to be clicking.
Yeah.
Wigan against Salford, I saw a little bit of that. 6 points either way. I can't call it. I can't call OKR Wigan. I can't. I just think the setting, Craven Park, packed to the rafters, that crowd will be worth.
It's bouncing.
I know. There was a study. They did it. It was in the Times, Sunday Times, a few weeks back. Psychologically, like the Emirates, Old Trafford, you know, that noise and against a stadium. Well, it's very difficult to do it for Premier League, but they were doing it from Championship as well. And what they were saying is like when you've got a stadium and it's full and it's packed and it's full of the home fans, it's very sort of raucous, vociferous, and everyone's really pumped for it. You know, that does give everybody the psychological advantage, and they've done the study on Sports Science on it, and it is worth extra points. You know,
no doubt.
and
I like your car.
no. I listen. I don't think there's much between them all.
I'm gonna just move my chair a bit further away here. I like that, you know, and I'm hoping if there's ever, I said to you before,
6 points either way.
If there's ever a good time to play one of the big boys,
Now.
round one at home, it's got to be.
Yeah.
You know, before they've had time to get used to it. Probably this time of the year, the first few rounds can often be which team is the fittest, so they make less errors and they're up for it the most. So if this was at Wigan, you'd be talking probably Wigan by 16, 18, something like that. I genuinely think that's what the
No, if this was at Wigan, it'd be a totally different
I
game.
think the
Fact.
handicap would be 16, 18 if it were Wigan. It could easily be that big, but as it is, I'm thinking similar to you, but I do, sadly, you've got to go that Wigan. Our favourites, understandably, I'm going to go Wigan, but I think you'll really fight it with that home advantage, and Wigan will win it by 8.
Oof. Sorry, stuff.
But nothing
Carousel.
to do with you.
Yeah, it's first game of the season, it's unknowns. We can say whatever we want about pre-season, but it means nothing. There's still you know what I mean? With KR, if they didn't play Leeds, I think everyone would be panicking saying it did this. Now you saw them against Leeds, it's the complete opposite. Wigan, I don't think have had any televised games or put their games on YouTube or anything. So unless you were there, you've not really seen much. So in terms of that, I think it'd just be a close game, won't it? Be an arm wrestle. I think you don't want to see as many mistakes in the first game of the season, do you? You want to try hit the season running. So I think it'd be close contest, and like I said, 6 points either way. I think it'd be tough because by the sounds of it, Hulk are looking to close everything down, be a lot safer as a team. Wigan might be going even more the opposite with some of the centre signings, so it'd be a good battle between KR trying to shore things up compared to what we're used to, and Wigan actually expanding even more from 2 seasons ago when they were very safe and very secure team and low scoring to last year scoring more and then probably even expanding that again. So, yeah.
Well, I've just been slaughtered for sitting on the fence with Leeds and Warrington, and you've both gone 6 either way, so
Not
make
on
a
the fence,
call
actually.
and make a call.
Make a call. I'll go Wigan make a few mistakes because it's early season. I think Wigan do finish ahead of KR in this season. That'll be my one dig to you. But I think KR can pull off the win at Craven Park. Wigan have got a lot of things still to figure out with these new centres who are going to play pivotal piece. So a few mistakes, a few growing pains as such. So KR by 4.
KR by 4, Wigan by 8.
Can Stoz explain to the fans why Mick's saying at home what it's like being playing for KR?
Yeah, it's just the East, like, what's that?
The East Stand,
It's all like the fans so passionate. All I want is just you to play, give you 100% in the KR shirt, and that's all. Also, they want us to win, but that's all that matters to them really, because it's just on like it's packed out. It's I never felt like it before. I'm running out, even though we played out in Derby last year. I never felt all that before. It's crazy. But yeah, just give you 100% every week, and that's all I want. It's good.
My prediction will be 18-all, Golden Point win for KR. There we go. 19.
Starts to do it drop goals.
No, joking aside, I do think it'll be close. When I said 6 points either way, you know, that's what I'd lose an arm on if we were betting links. But yeah, no, I'm going to go very close, 18-all or 24-all. Won't be surprised if that goes to Golden Point.
Right.
I think it'll be that close.
Craig, he can't do a call.
I can't do a
You
call.
can't do one. You've got to do one.
You doing a call? Just shout out.
You just having me for sitting on fence. Make a call.
OKR, Craig, yes or no?
A draw.
Well, you've gone with something for me then.
It's called a result though.
Yeah. The hypocrisy is flying around again.
There we go. Well, look, it's been an edition of the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. We'll be back next week with more Rugby League topics of discussion. Don't forget, there's going to be separate Super League review shows. So next week there'll be a Super League review of the games from round 1, a little bit on St Helens and Penrith, and of course there'll be the next part of the Championship preview. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, we've not spoken much about the Championship, fear not, there is a Championship review and preview show going out separately each week. So hopefully that keeps you lovely loyal Championship fans in touch with that competition. And fear not, next week there'll be a League One preview show. So we're going to do the League One preview show next week, and obviously along with the Championship show we'll cater for League One as well in that as well. But until next time, thank you very much to Mr. Storton for coming and joining us. Good night, God bless, and listen, enjoy your rugby league because it's the greatest sport on earth. And you've got York versus Bradford tonight, Warrington Leeds Thursday, Salford Friday, and then you've got those 2 games on Saturday, Penrith and St Helens, and then KR versus Wigan. I'm an honorary Robin for the on Saturday, but yeah, we'll see you next week.